Yo, what's up, guys? What a great way to start the cast, man. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Sobriety University podcast. This one, thankfully, we're not going to be talking about addiction. So I know it's a heavy topic. We're going to be talking about the power of music. And I am joined here by my new friend, Mike, uh, label runner of Uprise Recording. And Mike, welcome. Thanks for coming on, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys and, you know, stay up to date in the music world, the media world, the get wealthy world.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, that's what it's all about, man. Like we get clean guys so we can start living a badass life. And so we're gonna have a really cool talk today about music. So Mike, you're a professional mixer and sound engineer, mix master, whatever, and you guys might not know what that is, so we'll get into that for sure. Many of you have heard my story that I got sober because of music. So house music was became my passion and joy, and I wanted to have a career in music. I wanted to DJ, play at ultra, travel the world, do all that fun stuff. And I knew that if I was drugging and partying, that if I ever got into that scene, I'd probably sabotage it by my behavior and just not being aware of who I am, the anxiety, the depression, all that stuff. So I didn't want to ruin it. So I quit drugs and alcohol actually to start having a great career in music. And it took, like, yeah, I'll share this with you. It took, I spent many years producing, got very close to breaking into getting signed, but something just told me, like, hey, it's time to hang it up. So that's a little bit of background about me. And but we're going to dive more into Mike's story, at least at this point, and kind of talk about. So why don't you share with everybody your journey with music and what it means to you, how you got into it, just the whole gambit.
Oh, man. Well, your story sounds awesome. First of all, we're going to have to talk about that on another podcast. I'm going to have to
Absolutely.
start making some questions for you. But yeah, I mean, geez, music, I actually didn't find until later. And I talked a little bit about this on Jaren's podcast last time, how I got into music. But my, I don't know, should I do the long story or the short story?
A little in the middle. We can do a middle route.
Okay. Well, I lived in Southern California and I was probably 21, almost 22 years old. And I was kind of like a surfer bum, I'd
Mm,
camp on the beach all the time. Like my dad had just purchased some property up in over in Texas, and so I had his house like all to myself. So it was like my
oh,
penthouse, and it was awesome.
sweet,
So,
dude.
but I was never there. Like I was always at the beach and always skating, and I want to be a pro skater. That's kind of the
Okay.
SoCal lifestyle.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is where I'll make the long story into a medium or short story. I hit my head skating like really bad,
Mm,
and I almost died, but I woke up after almost like at least a few weeks. I was out like
in a coma.
comatose, yeah.
Wow.
And after about 2 months, I was like, okay, well, I got to go somewhere. I'm out of the hospital now, and I needed a place to stay. So my grandma in Sacramento was like, "Oh, I have nothing to do. You can stay with me." So I was
Mm,
basically bedridden for about 6 to 8 months, where I was just so dizzy I couldn't even get out of bed, or I'd like eat and then I would just throw it up because my vertigo
oh
was
man.
like so bad.
What was
Um,
the trick you did to for that?
it was so lame. It wasn't even cool. I think I was going down like a hill and I tried to
Uh-huh.
slow down. We weren't even filming
Oh,
that day, but I ate it just right on my head. And then it
oh,
was just out. I woke up and I was like, oh, there's this lady feeding me jello. I was like, get away from me. It was pretty funny.
yeah.
But man, I need to get like a phone stand.
Speaking of falling,
I know,
I
right? That's exactly what it looked like.
I'll share a brief with you as well that so I have these scars, you might have seen them, right, from skateboarding
Yeah.
as well, and it was like super lame. Like I wasn't doing any cool tricks. I was just going down a super fast hill and just ate it. Like I got a bruise in my face, skidded like 10 feet, and I get like keloids, which means like I have scars that develop and the body doesn't say stop growing, so they just get really big. And
Mhm.
so yeah, I wrecked myself freaking longboarding. So I'm with you, brother. Never.
That's basically how I did it. I wasn't even
Yeah.
doing any tricks or anything. It's always when you're doing something lame.
Ah, right. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I did a triple flip ollie knuckle
Yeah, I was doing
barrel.
a backflip.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah. So
but
continuing.
but yeah, when I was in recovery, my aunt had an old Spanish guitar. It was a little janky because it was really old. It was authentic,
Okay.
but it was it was all she had.
Classical.
She's like, yeah, she's like, you gotta do something. So I just, my hands were like atrophied because I'd like hadn't
Oh,
done anything for like months. I just slept
wow.
and ate and slept. Um, so learning how to play the guitar was literally healing, and as I was able to like learn how to articulate my fingers again, every morning was like a workout. I was like in bed trying to like move my fingers to get that C shape, the
Oh,
first one
okay.
that everyone learns of crying.
Yeah.
It's like a
Mom.
Rocky movie every time.
Wow.
Re-
That
but yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, that's a hell of a story, and I'm sorry you went through that. And at the
Yeah.
same time, it sounds like it was, as we talk about on the channel, trauma is always a blessing in disguise. I think it shapes who we are,
Hmm.
and so you recover from that. It sounds like you learned music really helped you through that. What was that next phase for you when you started to feel a little better?
Well, after a while, I got pretty efficient at playing songs back to back, and I wanted to be able to record them because
Mm.
first I wanted to it was for my grandma. She was like my best friend during this process, and I'd play something and then record it on like a computer speaker on a free program, and I was using a Microsoft computer which I started on, which I like. I know I don't want to pick sides, but I'm going to pick sides. Like, I cannot stand Microsoft computers. Like, I have no idea how
Nah,
to
dude.
navigate them. Yeah. So I eventually switched from that to like a little MacBook, and I got a little USB microphone because it's just plug and play, really simple.
Mm.
And after that, I loved it. Loved recording. I
Mhm.
loved like picking out a song and making it perfect to the click track and
Okay.
dialing in my tightness and consistency. And I guess I got good enough at it that people thought it was worth something.
Yes, dude. Because that's so important. Like, it sounds like it happened. And first question: how long did it take you from when you started recording to when people started to notice you started to maybe earn some income? About how long did that take? Would you say
2012, maybe.
2,000 years?
So,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
2000 years.
good stuff.
I'd say probably 4 years.
Okay.
4 years of like pretty consistent everyday recording. But
Okay.
I would argue people could probably get better faster if they just did it like more during the day. You get good at it. Or there's people that have talent too.
Well, I was gonna say, from my perspective, like you starting to make income in 4 years, that's a sign that it's like kind of more natural to you. For me, I spent 8 years, 8 years, 7 years
Hmm.
before people started to be like, yeah, this is okay. Like, yeah, this ain't
Hmm.
bad, right? But I never had that like it factor where I play a song for someone, they're like, dude, like, whoa, like this is great. I remember when I was first making music, I thought it was amazing because I was high all the time. So in my egoically enhanced state of mind, I was like, oh, this
I
is
can
God's
see
gift.
the audio.
Yeah. The world has been waiting for this. And I would show my
Yeah.
friends and they'd be like, yeah, dude, I gotta go.
They're like
Like,
touching the screen, waiting for like to see how much longer is left of it.
yeah. All right. And you can tell if you have good music if there people like move their head, they're moving their
Hmm.
bodies. It would just they'd be still as a statue. I was like, okay, maybe this
Yeah.
music isn't that good. So that was for me.
Hmm.
So it sounds like for you, you kind of had it naturally. Um,
Well, my
it's
my family was always very musical. Yeah.
okay, Gotcha.
So I was always around. I'd hear my mom sing, or my grandma was an organ player for this church for like her whole life.
Okay.
So they were very
And
talented.
where do you think your like strength lies, whether it be sound design, uh, actually creating a track, like the organization of a song, or were you more like, was there a certain instrument that you were really strong at, proficient at?
Oh man, I'd say probably production or even directing is probably my strong suit, because
Okay.
I would argue that there are many hundreds of thousands of musicians that are better than me, maybe millions that are better
Mm,
than me, because I'm not super talented music wise, but
okay.
I think there's a certain type of tenacity you have to have, and you know, as a business person, to just kind of like spearhead the industry. Like, oh,
Mhm.
this label's not going to pick me up. I'll be a label. This person,
Okay.
this person's not going to help me with this. I'll just do it. I don't know how to advertise. Let me Google it real quick. It's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like this kind of energy that and belief in yourself that you have to have, where it's like almost blindly optimistic, where
Yeah.
no matter what, I want to be the shit. I remember I wrote it in my journal when I first picked up the guitar. I was like, I'll have a studio someday. It'll be amazing. I'll make six figures. I'll do this. Or I'd made this whole list of things, and it's a little bit like a vision board, but every
Yeah.
single day I did something that was going to get me to that goal.
Okay. Oh, oh, Mike, we
You
lost you.
still got me?
Oh,
That was weird.
there we go. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. Guys, we were on the
I
call
just
like
lost
20 minutes
audio.
earlier trying to figure out
Don't
how
do
to
this to
set
me
this stuff
now.
up. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to shoot him the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
code to. Let's see. Yeah, just, I guess, yeah, to kill some time here while we wait for Mike. Um, yeah, kind of like what he said, like you got to kind of force your path, right? And this is something that definitely. Oh, and he's gone. So yeah, forcing your path and things. I think this is, we can relate it to addiction a little bit, right? Like you got to kind of go against the grain of maybe what your family's saying, of what your friends are saying, and kind of have that blind confidence that like, hey, I'm gonna go forward here. I'm gonna quit whatever addiction I'm dealing with, and I'm gonna create my own life. And so it sounds like Mike did that a little bit with music in a sense. And
Oh,
he's back. All right, can you hear me now?
dude, I don't know what the universe is trying to say about my audio, bro. It's trying to make me look
Yeah,
like a fool here.
the
Sorry about
irony
that.
in this situation. Yeah,
I know. It's
that's
it's the
that's a
universe telling
virtual
me to.
back. It's a virtual background, right? It's not even your studio.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just homeless on the street.
Oh, that's why
Sorry
you're
about
out of
that.
data. Yeah.
Yeah, my Cricket account stopped me. Um, no. Where was I? I was talking about just my talents not necessarily being in any one thing, but just
Mhm.
wanting to be able to do everything, and
Yeah.
and having a dream and pursuing it no matter what, I guess is the thing that
Okay.
I had.
I was talking about that a little bit with the audience there while you were gone. Just
Hmm.
that I think with recovery anyway, you can kind of take that mindset. Like you have to force your own path. You have to say,
Hmm.
go against the grain of what your friends or family might say, what society might say, and say, I'm going to go down this path that is new and a new and uncharted. I trust that something good's going to come out of it. So I'll
Hmm.
say for me, I think I really like how you said that with your story. Like you said, okay, I didn't get signed by a label, so I'm going to create my own. That's something that never hit me. I was so dependent on getting signed to a label uh, that maybe that hurt me a bit because, like you said, you can create your own music. And I was very in the mindset like, if a label isn't picking it up, the music's not good. Until it
Hmm.
gets picked up, it's not good. And I'm looking back at my kind of history and I'm like, maybe that would have been I kind of wish I would have done that. Maybe, started to release my own music more and just kind of say, screw it. Like, who cares if it's not good enough or whatever.
Mhm.
So, yeah, what was that? What was that journey for you when you started putting your music out there in the world?
Um, it was hard. No one supported me. No one loved my music. No, I'm just kidding. No, I had so much support. Like my dad was always like, "Oh, you want to, be a gigolo and get paid millions of dollars for women to, and I was like, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
I won't do that. He's like, all right, I support you, man. So he'd support me whatever I wanted to do. I was like, I want to be a musician and make lots of money. He's like, dude, that's a great idea. I know how we can do it. And he was so supportive. In my mind, I couldn't even fail. So I really owe it to my family being supportive. And
Wow.
my sister was really into music too, so that helped. She was like, "Oh, this is really good." So I just had some huge cheerleaders in the beginning to where my mindset mixed with like a really close peer group that loved and supported me. I don't know if anyone could have gotten more lucky than me, to be totally honest.
Cool, man. That's cool. You got a
Yeah,
good support system. And
yeah. And that
how
it
did
doesn't have to be family, you can find close knit groups of people that just love and support you anyways,
Mhm.
so
Right.
I've always tried to be equally as supportive to everyone around me.
Oh, nice, dude. That's powerful, man. Yeah, having someone to believe in you is so key. Uh,
Hmm.
whoever it is, right? It could be a support group. I mean, if you're in recovery, it could be obviously like your fans. If you're doing social media stuff, uh, this channel has been people have been super supportive on it. Um,
Hmm.
very kind. So that just keeps you going because you're like, this is actually impacting people versus like this is just a dream in my head that I'm creating.
Hmm.
So maybe we'll so it's yeah, very cool. So what do you do now? Like what's your like life like today as a professional person in the industry?
I mean, it's pretty awesome, man. I mean, people will call me anywhere from a week or two out and they'll say, hey, I need to record a voiceover for this, or I need to record a new track for this wedding I have. It's very commercial to an extent, so I'll get
Hmm,
random people inquiring via Google or even Instagram for music videos, uh, short films, and
okay.
then I put them on the calendar. We make it happen. We record the music in here, record the voice, make sure all the volumes are good. We master
Hmm,
it. I'm trying to. I know you know how this all works, but I'm trying to talk
yeah,
for people that are listening or maybe
sure.
don't understand exactly what goes on in the studio. But it's almost as simple as it sounds. If
Yeah.
someone wants a music video, you take the pictures of them and you put it on YouTube, or if they
Okay.
want to put a song out, you record it and then put it on Spotify.
Okay. Do you use like DistroKid or
I
what's your
I
release
don't have
platform?
yeah, I don't have a huge role when it comes to distribution
Oh, gotcha.
unless someone's hired me as like a manager or something, or wants me
Okay.
to promote their music specifically. But yeah, DistroKid's like, it's such an easy way to go now, and it allows the
Yeah.
artists to really hold on to their royalties.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, I was trying to get royalties because I thought, oh man, well, I mean, my voice is on the track, and I pretty much did all the instrumentation, and I auto tuned so you sound good, like. And these artists would take the song and then they would give themselves 100% or whatever it was, and I used to get really
Okay.
finicky about it, but I was like, you know what? I'm charging them an hourly wage, and they come in, and once they leave, they don't bug me again. So I was like, you know what? I don't care. But
Okay.
I've probably made like thousands of songs that I don't have royalties to, but my voice is on it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, for you guys that might be like, what the hell are these two talking about? So first off, mastering. When a song is finished, and there's a couple of stages. So you have your recording stage or your production stage. Then you have your mixing stage, is that's where you level everything out. You make sure it sounds good from start to finish. And then you have your mastering, which is where you get the levels loud enough. Basically, that's what it is, just making sure it's loud enough for commercial release or for being on stage if you're performing it. Like DJs, for example, you need to have a certain range so it's loud enough. And then DistroKid, it's a platform. It's like you pay just a few bucks a month or a year even. I think it's like a year. And basically you give it to them and then they put it on Spotify for you. So they basically create your Spotify page. So any artist you see on Spotify, they're probably putting like they don't upload it to Spotify themselves. They have it they hire an outside site and that gets just distributed that way. So just to guess to fill you guys in on what we're talking about.
Hmm.
And then royalties are royalties where, so since Mike creates a track, technically he should get like his name on the thing and get money anytime that song makes money. So can you explain again why you haven't pushed for that? Like,
Well, I've seen a huge difference, and I don't want to put any names out, but I know friends of mine and that have studios that really push for royalties,
yep.
and it's a little bit of a turnoff, especially since the person's already paying hourly. So, for example, if someone comes to me, they could be paying upwards 150 to $250 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and now they have their song after they spent 250 to $1,000 to get this song polished, and now you want half the money for it. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
they're paying me up front. So now why that I paid you so much money am I going to pay you half of maybe like the $70 I get for royalties? It's like an insult to
Okay.
injury, especially if I'm being like, hey, well, you got to sign these papers. It's like people will just go to another studio if they feel like they can't work with you and feel
Ah,
comfortable in the studio. So if you're nickeling and diming the crap out of them and then you like start poaching their royalties, that's a huge turnoff, and that's a reason why most people are just recording from home now. So
okay.
you want to get a good sound, but let them have their music. Their music is their music. Once they leave here, I don't want them to have to think of my face every single time they, get their royalty checks or see their bank account deposit and they see half of it went to me. It's
Mhm.
that's why people are going the independent artist route now,
Right.
You hear all these stories about American Idol, how they took like 80% of the money I made on my music. It's like,
Oh, dang. Okay.
you know,
Cool. Can you request less for royalties? Can you say, hey, can I get like 10%? Because 50 does
yeah,
seem like a lot.
yeah, I've done that. So, like yesterday, for example, this guy asked for me to be on the track, and I was just pushing record. So I was like, "Oh yeah, like I'll be on it. That sounds fun." So I did a little extra production work, and I wrote a hook because he's a rapper and I was a singer. So
Okay.
he's like, "Do you want 50%?" And I was like, "That took me like 2 minutes, dude." He's like, "Well, it took me 1 minute." And
Ah,
so he saw
I
the
like this
value
guy.
in 50. Yeah, he saw the value of 50%, but I was like, just do whatever feels right. And then he put me down for like 25, 30%,
Okay.
whatever it was. And it was like a nice little, oh, thank you. That's a nice
Yeah.
gesture, because from what I know, he's not, making millions of dollars on
Okay.
Spotify, though he has potential to, but it's it's not something that's forced. It's like a tip kind of.
Gotcha. Oh, that's very generous. I like this guy. Like that's like I respect
Yeah.
that. And then he still
No,
gave you like
he's really
30%.
cool. Hmm.
Now, let's say no, I'm curious. Next question is like, what about like these big guys? So like Timberland, like oh, like
Jeez.
like Justin Bieber's manager. Like
Hmm.
when you're working at that big of a level, you probably want royalties, right?
Yeah, probably. But I mean, I've worked with some bigger artists too, and I don't know. I think a lot of them, there's this like weird underlying, like if you're just a studio for hire, they just hire you and then that's it. They take their raw audio.
Oh,
They take the raw
so
audio, then they leave.
okay.
It
So
but it depends.
these guys that are working for like Bieber or like these really big artists, Taylor Swift, Would you think they're more like manager, like they're their producer, like that kind of vibe, or like how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, there's people that work on a ton of stuff that's like pretty like I only work with this one guy, you know. There's people like
Okay.
that, but there's also like trying to think of an example. I guess I can say it. Like Kendrick Lamar recorded here last summer because he was on tour, and his brother was here, and
Wait, what?
he had like
That's
a
been
bunch of sick. Yeah, it was really weird.
holy shit, dude.
But the Golden One Center's right there, so they're just like, oh, let's do something just to shoot the shit. Let's hire the studio. So they came to the studio, and um, I'm not Kendrick Lamar's producer,
Uh huh.
but they fucked around here once.
Okay.
I don't know if I can say
That makes
it.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, Kendrick, if you're watching this, subscribe, please. Let's collab.
yeah. But
Now,
yeah, it's not like we're friends. He doesn't know me. I don't call him at home or anything, but he's recorded here because I just happened to be by the place where he was posted up for 2 days, you know.
gotcha. So the people that are working with like the big people, right?
Mhm.
What would you guess they're paying the studio for like an hour of recording? They're probably paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Like, hey, can you?
Um I think uh the difference between like an album that's produced on like a shoestring budget versus an album that they take millions of dollars on is probably mostly spent in promo. I don't think the studio is like a huge part of it. I know there's spaces
Really?
in LA, and I've had friends record in LA, and they've contacted me. They're like, "Dude, you're doing God's work, man. Like for how much you're charging, like you could be charging so much more. You could be charging like double, triple what this guy's doing in LA if you live there."
Yeah.
So that was nice to hear, but it was I think it's just time. You could
Mm,
have a really good mix in 2 hours, but if you spend 80 hours and listen to it back and forth, that's studio hours that are piling up and maybe royalties depending on the studio. But I don't think, I think at that point they probably have contracts with the studio. Hey, look, we're going to rent you out for a year to do Taylor Swift's album. And
okay.
it's gonna cost, they'll probably be like, well, I want a salary if I'm gonna be working with her whenever she wants, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Right.
And so that's probably where some of it goes. But
Okay.
these albums cost millions of dollars to make. I'm sure most of it is spent on like YouTube ads, Hulu
Okay.
ads, making a
Sure.
documentary.
Uh-huh.
And Drake was even known to have like just a bunch of like empty burner computers were just like streaming his songs, you know? So he gets
Okay.
streams
Yeah.
on Spotify and that equates to royalties, but they had a whole warehouse like full of computers running his song. So
Wow.
and that jump starts it in the algorithm, and then by then, you have
Yeah.
6 million listeners a month.
Right. I do that on my YouTube vid sometimes. So like open a bunch of tabs on other people's channels I work and just watch it. YouTube does pick up on that though, and they will they will shut you down if you're doing that. But anyway, dude,
Yeah,
that's fascinating, dude.
that's
I've
how I
always
got
like
all 10 plays on my last single.
nice, dude. You
I'm
got
just
10
kidding.
plays, bro. That's crazy. Wow. So grandma had
Exactly.
7 of them, and then
Yeah.
yeah. That's so cool. So, like, last question on this aspect. Charlie Puth, for example, like he's like gotten famous for being somebody who's made music for big like names, like Katy
Mhm.
Perry. He's written songs for all those big people. How do you think it worked with him? Like, since he actually wrote their song.
Oh man, I'm sure there's royalties in there. Like if
Okay.
if you're writing like huge songs and you've shaken hands with like some of the juggernauts, I'm sure. And this is all speculation, but
Uh
knowing
huh.
how most of the people work with in Sacramento is probably not the best example because Sacramento is like a mud water town. But I'd say in LA it's a little more formal. I had an ex move to LA. She did like a commercial or something,
Okay.
and she like still gets royalties for it. It's like it played in like 2018,
Okay.
So
Mhm.
it's a little bit more hoity-toity that way. in
Mhm.
LA, but I'm sure that's kind of how it works. I'm sure Charlie was like, "Hey, let's your guys talk to my guys," or it's probably just him at the time, and they worked
Yeah.
something out.
Like, he wrote "I Kissed a Girl," so, like, if he said no royalties, like, that'd be a huge loss. I mean,
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest songs ever.
yeah,
Not that I listen to it, but
I know. It's
just
on. I don't even know what's that
it's
song.
not my alarm. It's
Yeah.
not my alarm in the morning.
No, but like stuff like that. I don't know. I've had a lot of like people that are like quote unquote famous ask for handouts too. It's funny. Like
Okay.
there was a Kings player here that I worked with for a while, started like kind of trying to get free studio time from me
Hmm.
because, well, you're working with me, dude. And I was like, well, I can't do
Uh,
that. And he's like, well, I'll just go somewhere else then. And I was like, all
okay, fair.
right. Like, yeah, I did like his whole first album too. And then he was able to just like
Man,
drop me like that because someone else was a little bit,
oh,
more free
what a
stuff.
what a cunt. I
Yeah.
was say we're past the 5-minute mark, so we can swear. What a just
Yeah.
a low human being, man. Okay.
It was pretty bad. But yeah, but
By
then
the way,
there's
Mike, I'm gonna invoice you after this for coming on the Sobriety University channel. So
yeah.
just so you know, this is gonna cost you. But
Yeah, it's over the 1 hour time limit by 1 minute. Yeah.
sorry,
No,
bro.
that's
Sorry, bro. It's $1 million. Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna oh by the way, I'm gonna need half royalties for the money you get for streaming this.
Okay. I will buy you half a cent in Bitcoin.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's crazy though, man. Like Jesus. Uh,
Yeah, people value like their name and people get into it. I've had a couple of people that were like mid-tiered, like a claim to fame, or they had a flash
sure.
in the pan, or like, what can you do for me, man?
What can
You
you
know,
do for me? What a
I'm
well,
I'm
man.
amazing.
Oh, okay. All right, buddy.
Yeah.
So, on the reverse, I imagine you get some really cool people that come through. Some really like the
Oh
guy
yeah.
yesterday. He said, "Yeah,
Yeah. No, I love the job. It's literally, this window here. I don't know if you can see it. I'll show you my set. But
yeah, let's get a tour."
yeah. Can I turn my camera around on this? Probably not. But right here is where people record. And
Oh,
then I have this little window here where I have all my lighting set up because we were supposed to use my good camera, but the audio wasn't coming through. But
okay.
yeah, I'll sit here and I'll watch through this little window here, right here. And
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
like, we were just talking about how bad TV is for you, but it's like I just get entertainment through that little box. I watch them sing, and then I really just push record, let it rip, and we get to experience magic. You know how
Yeah,
it's like when you make a song. It's like healing,
you're
healing through music.
healing. You're one with the universe. You're one
Ex-
with yourself. And every song I've made, I've been like, dude, this is it. And I think that's
mhm.
just such an interesting thing. And they've never been it, by the way, guys. But it, in the moment, it's just so beautiful and powerful. Can we see your actual your studio, like your monitors, like what you
Yeah,
look at
yeah.
when you produce?
Um, yeah. So here's my setup.
Oh,
It's pretty
that is
basic.
beautiful. You
I
got
got
the
all this
UA.
crap moved. Yeah, I use mostly
So
UAD.
you got the Apollo. So that little thing that's with the knob, that's called like a audio interface, and it cleans up the latency and it allows you to really dial in the volume. So that's like the best one you can possibly get. Yeah.
Yeah. This is
Jared and
also an
I,
interface. You what?
okay. Jared and I, we have the Scarlett Solos, like the Focusrite, and it's a
Oh, nice.
great
Those are
budget
good.
one. Yeah, yeah, they're cute.
And here's my
So, oh,
preamps. This is really how
oh,
you get the volume going. Crank
okay.
this. And here's another interface because most of the time, like the Scarlett Solos are great. They have good preamps, but if you're going to record like a choir or like a drum kit, you need like 1,000 inputs. So each
Oh,
when you're recording a drum kit, you have like at least 8 inputs because you're recording the
Okay.
kick drum, you're recording the snare, you're recording the hi-hat, you're recording the overheads, the
Right.
toms. So all that stuff, each one has its own individual microphone. So you're working
Okay.
with a ton of stuff at that point. And then
And what
um
speakers are you using, by the way? I saw that.
oh, these are Amphions. These are actually incredible. I just got these, and if I could compare them to anything, I would say like probably Barefoot. You've heard of Barefoot monitors?
I actually haven't. No, I've only heard of Genelex and um, but those look freaking like not like for your studio bedroom.
Yeah, they're probably about 3 grand a piece. They're really nice.
Ooh. Oh wow.
um, and the really nice ones can go upward of like $10,000 a piece. But I was just like, I'm gonna get the desktop ones. You know?
Sure. Only the $3,000 ones.
Yeah,
I'm on a budget, guys.
exactly. Well, I got them for a really good deal. A buddy of mine was had to get rid of them. He hadn't used them in forever, and he was like, "Hey, I'm kind of in a pinch. Take these for really cheap." I was like, "Okay, I'll do that
Wow.
for you."
Yes. You owe
I'm
me big,
sure.
man.
I'm sure I'll end up, giving them back to him at some point. But
Okay. Now I know what
for
these
now, they're
are.
great.
That thing behind you, the opposite end of the door, it looks like a like
Oh,
bamboo in the wall or something. Can you share with the audience what that is?
yeah, this is diffusers. So these sound travels in like rays. So if I take a ray gun and I shoot it at the wall, it's going to hit the wall, it's going to bounce off to the other wall. And this kind of breaks up the sound because these little pieces of wood are all different lengths. As you can tell, it's kind of like looks like a staggered pattern.
Yeah.
And basically sound hits it at different times because they're different distances from each other, and it breaks up the sound. So it once it hits this wall here, it doesn't bounce back all in the same all at the same speed or frequency. So you're gonna get a sound hit that, and it's gonna break up, and it's gonna be it makes the room sound more dead, basically.
Okay. And I
It's
see you have the
different.
couch as well, and the padding in front of the window, and that is for the same reason, right? So it
Yeah.
absorbs the reflections.
Yeah, every once in a while I need to shut this if it's like rush hour or something. Or
Okay.
if I'm recording in this room, it just makes it more dead sounding.
Yeah. And what does that mean for the audience? What does a dead room mean, and why is that important?
A dead room's important because if I'll show you. So I'm talking in here and I can snap and it sounds like a snap because it's not bouncing off the walls. But if I go out into this room, you hear how it
Mm,
sounds a little more. You can hear the room noise. You can hear, oh, that sounds a little more echoey. Maybe it's not as pretty.
yes.
Um, versus if I go into this room and then I close this door, this is the actual vocal recording room.
Oh,
It's
your
very,
voice immediately when you
yeah,
close the door.
it's very dead in here because you don't want any reverberations, and that's what these acoustic panels are for. So this will
Mm,
absorb sound like crazy.
okay. I think you just do the rest of the podcast in that room. It sounds like you're on like a Shure microphone or something.
I know, right? You can actually make up for not having a good microphone by having good acoustics. So
Okay.
like even I noticed in your room, not to be, a Nazi about it or anything, but you don't have as much acoustics in your room, so I hear the sound of your room, which
Yeah. Wow.
is probably fine if your microphone is at a quiet volume or if you're doing like a song where you're just talking. But
Uh-huh.
as soon as you start screaming, that's when the sound is going to build up and you get that
Okay.
big, it's not an ugly sound, but um it means that you have to do a lot more treatment to the sound after to make it sound appropriate to the song because
Sure.
songs reverb can make or break a song. Like if you have like a really intimate voice recording or something on a movie, and maybe they're like outside and the guy's talking and it sounds like that room out there, it's
Mhm.
gonna sound so weird and it's not gonna fit at all. So if you have a
Mm,
dead sound, if you record a dead sound, it's a lot more versatility that you have. You can change up the reverb or the sound of the location in post instead of having to get rid of that sound later. That
okay.
makes sense. And that was a
It
lot,
does.
lot to
Yeah, guys, we
explain.
just got we just got super nerdy there. If you're an audio
Yeah.
person, throw
Yeah.
a thumbs up in the comments there. I think if you are like in the beginning of production, like I know having like a bed helps. I put a blanket right behind my studio monitors to try to absorb a little bit of that sound. So I tried to make a bit of a makeshift. I don't think it obviously did a lot, but it probably helped a bit. And then corners too. I heard that you want to have your corners something to absorb. Like you don't want like rigid corners because like yes, yep, just like that. That's good. That's not bad. That's what you want, right?
Yeah. So these are
Yep.
bass traps. It's almost the same as what's on the wall, except corners will they'll take all the bass frequencies and amplify them.
Hmm.
Even notice when next time you're doing a mix and you're like playing out your speakers, walk into the corner and you'll be like, it'll just all be like, all the
Whoa.
low
Okay.
frequencies will be in the corner.
Oh, sweet. That's why it sounds so cool.
Yeah. Go stand in the corner. It's perfect.
Dude,
Cut, print.
some of the best like honest feedback I've gotten from my music is when I'm in a car.
Hmm.
It's just you're in the road, you're hearing it. I had a track that I sent you. The
Hmm.
kick drum was way too loud, and I played it in my friend's car, and it was just like you could like in my headphones it sounded fine, but in the car you could barely hear the instruments, and the kick was just like Jesus. So you go on a road test, but anyway, that we're getting into a tutorial on music production, but
Yeah.
uh,
I always
yeah,
resort to that.
I know. It's like people on Sobriety Universe like, what the fuck, man? Like, we're trying to quit
I
weed
know,
here. You're
right?
talking about making a song. Like, uh, yeah, there's one other point I had. I lost me, so maybe it'll come back. So anyway, going forward, like, what is music to you now? How is it helping you along your journey as a human being and just enjoying life and all that? Besides maybe the work aspect of it.
Um, well, on my personal time, I've been known to make music. And
Ah, that's nice.
whenever I'm going through something that's been difficult, music has been really almost essential for a release, I guess, because as men, we really don't talk about our feelings much.
Mhm.
So you have to have an avenue to release stress or maybe get out some aggression or angst. And I probably have hundreds of songs that just never seen the light of day that,
Oh, okay.
maybe I made after a breakup or when I was angry. It's
Mhm.
almost like a journal. And
Oh, okay.
and I love the writing process and the release of emotion. And I'm sure you've even gotten to the point where, you'll be listening back to a song and you just get all teary-eyed. You're like, this is gorgeous. I can't believe
Mhm.
I was able to make this, or I can't believe I
Right.
was able to, not even the mix, but the conveying of emotion is really powerful in music. And
Mm, okay.
I suggest for people that do have, that sense of creativity or that are talented in that way, I'd say music is probably one of the best outlets. And if you haven't written in a while, keep writing.
Yeah, love it, dude. It's so innocent. It's so pure. Uh,
Hmm.
you can express exactly who you are. I like how you said that. Uh, for, for me, I'm not angry that much anymore, which is good.
Hmm.
So I really like tracks that are very like emotion, like you get that sense of euphoria. So trance music's really big for me. Any
Hmm.
alternative group that has that, it's like there's like a certain key. It's like a minor key, like I think G to like maybe B minor. Like that's like the range I really like. Sometimes D
Hmm.
minor. that's super nerdy, guys. I know. There's certain like keys
We
that
don't
really
do
like
that whole
resonate.
key thing. We don't talk about that as musicians,
No.
as DJs. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. I think I love yeah, I memorize all the keys. I use like the circle fifths or whatever for DJing and
Oh,
um
nice.
it's just yeah, learning that like what sound resonates to you. And unfortunately right now in the dance music industry, they've switched to like techno. I don't know if you've heard like more like the old school acid sound. They're really bringing that back. So the euphoric like trance that I fell in love with is like not existent anymore, and it bums me out.
Where does I know this might be off topic or even off genre, but where does Bass Hunter stand and all that stuff? What would you
Ba-
classify Bass Hunter as?
he's I would say bass. Like you call that genre bass. Like it's just
Okay.
like bass. Like it's faster tempo, um, like borderline dubstep.
Hmm.
Maybe what's what's the genre? I can't remember right now. But yeah, it's very like you call it bass heads. Like when people go to concerts, like they go to see that kind of music. You call them bass heads. They just love the like the like this is how they dance. They just go like this.
Yeah.
And music comes in waves, as you guys know too. Like so, big room was my big genre, like kind of the 2012 sound with like when Avicii was popular, and like Ultra Miami became super popular. But that has died down so much that it just like doesn't get played that much anymore, and it's kind of a bummer. So that's I think one of the reasons I left music. Um, but punk as well. I still love punk. When I play guitar, I only play I'll play like AC/DC and stuff, but I like those
Hmm.
punk bands. We grew up on like All Time Low. Like I was yeah, before the stream too, I was telling you I was in bands in high school.
Yeah.
And our my sophomore year, we had a really good group of guys that we created a band with. Like the singers were very good. We had two guys that would sing, and the one guy in specific, very good. Like he just had that voice, you know, like when you hear people that are good at singing, he was good
Yeah.
at singing. We had a guy that was great at piano. My buddy and I, my best friend, both played guitar, and we were pretty good at guitar. So we were like the perfect group, and we had we created our band, and it was agree to disagree. So this was the logo. It was just two thumbs
That's
like this,
cool.
up and down. It was very punk. And we
Hmm.
had one of the girls that was our friend. She was like a her parents were super rich and stuff, so she was like our groupie, and her mom created t-shirts for us to sell.
That's
Uh,
sweet.
and we sold like a shit ton of them. Like everyone bought one. Uh, we got like 100, so we sold a ton. And then the night of the Battle of the Bands, we, we ripped our set, and it was good. Like we won basically.
Oh, nice.
Um, but what happened was we sold so many shirts that no one bought the shirts that the school made for the actual Battle of the Bands.
Oh,
And
man.
so she called the cops on us, the lady that ran it. She's
That's hecka bad.
like, we only did it because we outsold them. Like if they would have outsold us, it would have been no problem. But no one bought
That's
their
so
shirts,
funny.
and they were dope shirts. I
She
still have.
called the cops for you selling your shirts. That's hecka
She
funny.
did, and they came, and we obviously got disqualified. So, you know, we didn't get to play in front of the school for like the ultimate prize, or we didn't get our trophy or whatever. It was it was a good story though because, and it was like a fu, and then the lady
We
that
rocked too
called
hard.
the cops. She became like our she's a cool lady, but she was always a stickler, so we give her
Hmm.
shit. But anyway, man, that was our band story, and just wow, taking me
That's
back,
so
dude.
righteous, man.
Thanks. Thanks.
I can't wait till you guys come visit, man. We're gonna shred it.
Gonna jam, man. What
Hmm.
song we played? The Main. Do you remember the Main? That was
Yeah.
our whoever she may be. That was her song. And
Oh,
then
sweet.
did a couple Green Day covers. Did some Yellow Card for
I've done a
like
couple
the
of
talent show.
I've done a couple of Ocean. I think it's
Nice,
Ocean Avenue.
nice.
Yeah,
Go down
I've
that
done
lane.
that. Yeah.
Paramore is my favorite band. I'll say
Oh,
my
really?
favorite band is Paramore.
Oh,
Mm.
nice.
Just Haley Williams, great singer. Just the key they use is like that. That's my key. Like not all of them, but like Pressure, like Misery Business, like that kind of tone is like what I really
Hmm.
like. And
Oh,
they've had a
sweet.
lot of drama and stuff. I mean, think every band has, but what are your favorite bands? You share with the
Um,
audience.
man, I have such a weird, wide variety of bands, but I'd say at the end of the day, it probably all goes under like some indie genre.
Okay,
I love Gorillas. Like
dude.
half the time
Right.
I don't know what the words are, but I love their sound and I love how it changes and I can just have their albums on repeat like all the time and it's like a bunch of
Mm,
different songs. But you like know when it's a gorilla song, but you don't know what genre it is because it's each song is like a
right.
different genre.
And you
So
don't know
that's
what year it was made too, because they just have a huge plethora. My first ever CD I got was Feel Good Inc. ever,
really mine
and it
was
was I
their first album.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And my dad, so I got that and or the Green Day album, the American
Hmm.
Idiot album, and he let me keep the Green Day or the Gorillaz one because there was no swearing. But
Hmm.
he ripped the Green Day album and only gave me a blank CD with When September Ends. It was the full one without swearing.
This is
Like took
better.
away. I know, dude. So that's awesome, Gorillaz. Yeah, dude. I love them. What's your favorite song, or at least top three, maybe? It's a big.
Probably I like Spitting Out the Demons, even though it's kind of more like a scat. It's not really a song, and it's
Mm,
on one of their
yeah.
B-side albums. I like Super Fast Jellyfish.
Oh, nice, nice.
Um, and I like, oh man, probably Rhinestone Eyes. Like Plastic Beach was my favorite album by them. They just
Okay.
killed it, and it's this weird nostalgic feel
Yeah.
where it's like in between pop and the drums are all very simplistic 808 stuff that you'd hear on like an old hip hop track, but their
Mhm.
instruments are super synthy poppy, but it hits so deep and like their instruments have never been really rivaled by anything else.
Okay.
But I'd say Plastic Beach is the best album. You should definitely listen to it.
Cool.
Snoop Dogg's on it. He's just like
Yeah,
in the
right.
intro. It's so weird, but cool album.
Yeah,
And
Melancholy Hill is one of my favorite songs. Melancholy
yeah,
Hill, Feel Good
that's a
Inc.,
good one.
El Mañana, and Dare. Those are my. mm, I love that Feel Good Inc. album. It's really good.
Yeah, really good songs. And Melancholy Hill's on Plastic Beach too, so you've heard the Plastic
Yep.
Beach album.
Oh yeah. Jack Black's in one of their videos, which is hilarious.
Oh, and the humility.
Jack Black. Yeah.
Yeah. He's all like in the
Oh, dude,
background.
let's go. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And their stuff's a little like it's funny because they've gotten very woke. I can tell like
Really?
even their
Okay.
animations are getting like super woke, but
Wow.
the way that they view Hollywood is like very true how Hollywood
Okay.
is and like
Okay.
their last album. But um good band. I also like Billy Talent, which not a whole lot of people know. They're a Canadian band, but they're like this harmonic alternative punk that's they started out screaming, but now their new stuff's like very like deep kind of like divorced dad rock. It's really cool.
Divorce
Um
that.
but I
Speaking of
love it.
red, right?
I know,
Red some of those, right?
right? But yeah, I love them too. And then probably as far as pop punk, I'd say like Blink 182.
Okay,
I
nice.
there was a time where I like knew all their songs and like learned all the guitar to all their songs. So
Oh, sweet.
um I love them. They're like
Below the
they're
hood.
like my main yeah. I actually did a cover of that song. It's somewhere in YouTube. I
Oh,
lost it,
sweet.
but
Yeah, send that to me. I'd love to hear it. I I love I like their new music too. They came out with
yeah,
some new songs recently. It's Tom DeLonge's back, which is cool.
yeah.
They
No,
made peace.
they're what was it? One More Time was on their newest album, and it's kind of talking about how Mark Hoppus has cancer now or something, and that's like
Oh
the
man,
reason they're talking again.
God, fair. Yeah. See, so speaking of, yeah, like diseases and artists and stuff. I think the last thing that was on my mind was just kind of coming wrapping everything up, like the whole process of making
Hmm.
music has changed so much. And I think that is something that's just fascinating. I remember first time watching Bohemian Rhapsody, it just hit me like they're in the barn, they have millions of dollars of equipment, right? And you literally can do all that now just on a little computer. Like, obviously, it's not going to be as pure. Obviously, it's going to have a
Yeah.
different sound. But the fact that nowadays you can do all of that just simply in a little box, like that just blew my mind. Man. Blew my
Hmm.
mind. God, the amount of money they had to spend to do that, like, and then you have to record the tape, and like you run out of tape, and it's just like
Hmm.
crazy, dude.
No,
Crazy.
it's definitely changed a ton. Like you can get similar sounds. I'd argue that analog can definitely be pushed to be louder without clipping. Digital,
Okay.
you s- you start noticing compression artifacts a lot quicker than you would with analog. Like on
Mm,
this thing right here, this is an analog effects processor, and I can crank this till it's like clipping like crazy, and
yeah.
it won't clip in the digital realm. But
Really? Okay.
if I was to push like a digital preamp, it would clip way sooner. Even if I have like crazy compressors and stuff like that, it just won't go as loud. Or if it does go as loud, it's gonna feel really brittle and like fake.
Okay.
Um, and you can tell just like I listen to. I'll have to send you some really good mixes, but there's like a lot of really
Please.
good like old rock mixes that go like crazy loud, and
Mm,
but I can hear all the instruments like perfectly and they sound great,
wow.
but they're hitting like +1 or something, but it doesn't sound
Yeah.
bad. And then you'll have a mix of mine or one of our mixes where like, oh, this sounds really good, and then you'll turn to the same volume and it's just like
Yeah, dude.
it's disgusting sounding. And I'm like, oh, I'm such a bad mixer.
I know. When I
But
when I mix, I leave 28. When I actually make my track, I leave about 28 dBs of headroom. So I turn everything down. So when I master it, I can just crank it up. But even when I master it, I can only get to like at minus 5.8 decibels. It starts to get a little like sketchy. I'm sure there's a
I'd
fix there, but
probably you can probably get better results, honestly, and this is getting nerdy, but I've noticed that when you're doing digital stuff, the headroom is not as important before the mastering process. So
oh, okay.
if you have like a kick drum sample and you look at like your meters and it's going to like almost zero,
Yeah.
you're probably fine leaving it there.
Oh,
Cause
okay.
because if you take a sound and then you turn it down and then you master it,
Yeah.
you're getting a little bit of volume back from it, but mastering adds noise and hiss and it adds noise floor.
Right. Right.
So when you're pushing that maximizer or that limiter at the end, you're actually squashing your stuff if it's quiet to make it louder. When something gets louder
Oh,
using a limiter, you're actually compressing it. So if you let it be its natural sound, doo, 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 and it sounds really loud and it's nice, I would just leave it because that
okay.
most of the instrumentals like drums, kicks, snares, they're like almost mastered right out of the box.
Right. Right.
So you can go pretty dang high before you even throw ozone or like whatever mastering suite you throw on there, and
Okay.
you'll get a more punchy mix because you're not compressing so much when you raise the volume again.
Dude,
If
that's
that makes
huge.
sense.
It makes too much sense. No wonder I haven't gotten signed. Like, and I'll listen to my I'll
You're
listen to my
welcome. 50% royalties.
I got you, bro. I'll get you I'll get you point 0.5 cents from the stream, and then we'll get you another $3 from the song. So
Got you
gotcha, bro.
back.
Dude, I've been stuck on that for so long, and that makes perfect sense because when I listen to my master too, like it loses a little bit of that sparkle. And I've always wondered, like, why is that? It almost sounds better in just like
It
not
sounds
mastering.
like there's like, just this stuff is just all
Ex-
missing. And you're
a
like,
little
where's the
bit, man.
energy in my mix? I want to hear like that fat, like that
Totally.
sparkle and that crazy like candy crystal overhead. You'll get that
Yes.
if you crank it a little bit higher before the
Okay.
master. Yeah, minus
Hmm,
minus 20 decibels, that's like a lot. That's like
I know.
half your volume. So and if
Exactly.
you're cranking that all at the end, you're gonna lose like almost
Okay.
everything.
Bro, wow. Dude, thank you, Mike. Seriously, like on a personal
Yeah.
note, thank you. Oh, that, whew, I'm so pumped now. And that made perfect sense about like, yeah, like I'm getting these samples from Splice, and they're like from Dead Mouse or Kashmir. It's like, yeah, they're gonna be like, like they're gonna be good. It's not like,
These should sound amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
And they do. And sometimes less is more on the master. People,
okay,
there's a lot of debate. Oh, you should leave minus 12 decibels in headroom. Well, I'll leave even
yeah,
more and that'll make it sound bigger. But you actually, yeah, if you have all your stuff turned down, but they're playing back at full volume and you just turn the fader down,
yeah.
you're gonna squash it when you raise the volume again. So
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot limiters are compressing the signal too.
mhm.
Yeah. Got thanks guys for this. Tune into this nerd session there. That was really
Yeah.
important though. What do you use for your mastering? I personally I use T-Rax, and
Mhm.
I mean I've tried them all. I've tried Ozone. I use the invisible limiter a little bit. I'm guessing you use the UAD Logic stuff, right? Like
No, it's
do you
funny,
just
the
use
new
Ozone?
update. Yeah, I just use Ozone. It's
Damn.
I noticed that what is it? Logic has its own AI mastering thing now, and I've used it a
Oh,
couple
okay.
times,
Yeah.
but it still just sounds like there's a blanket over my mix.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
I like Ozone. I like their stereo spreader. I'll use that on most of my stuff, and it it kind of pushes everything wide so you can go louder without you know losing that getting that compressed feel.
Yeah.
And their maximizer is amazing. They have a shaper which will it's kind of like a soft multi-presser, I guess, and I'll
Okay.
use that if a mix is like maybe too bright. But
Oh, okay.
the older I get, maybe it's my hearing's going, but I feel like you can just crank mixes sometimes and make them just
Mm,
really my Amphions, it'll feel like it's too hot, or like maybe it's like, this is gonna be way too sharp, and I put it in the car and it just sounds amazing.
mm,
So
mm.
sometimes just a good maximizer and limiter is usually what I'll use it for. And
Okay.
then if my vocals still aren't like punching through like crazy, I'll lower like maybe 300 and lower,
Okay.
like 300 to 0, and I'll turn that down. My vocals just pop out like crazy.
Ooh, sweet.
But
Guys,
yeah,
oh,
I'll
whew,
go
that
ahead.
got me pumped. No, that just got me pumped. I'm just like nerding out. I just went in a different world there. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, but yeah, sometimes less is more. Like
Mhm.
I'll people will bring in projects sometimes. I'll be like, oh, I have Logic too, so and then I'll see their master. It's got like limiter, 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 EQ, 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 limiter.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, you're just like killing the sound. And
Yeah.
I'll be like, watch this. I'll bypass everything on their master chain and it'll just sound incredible. I'm like, you doubted yourself, man. You overmixed it. And
Mm,
and that's like the most common
mm.
thing for like beginners is they,
Yeah.
oh, my K's and my P's are too harsh. Let me EQ out everything in the upper mids. It's like, no, you don't want to do
No,
that.
no. Do you,
It's
do you
just
use
you, man.
de-essers? Do you use
I
de-essers and
do.
stuff? Okay, yeah.
I,
That's the
I'll
answer there.
use
You just throw in a de-esser and it
yeah.
just show that like those harsh
I
sounds.
use I use two of them at really low ratios, so
Okay.
one's not doing all the heavy lifting. It'll be two kind of barely working, and it sounds a lot more natural.
Okay. Cool, man. Well, dude, first off, we're gonna have to create. I think this podcast is the start of a music channel, YouTube channel,
Yeah,
and we'll be
exactly.
creating clips on production and stuff. There's not too many out there to be honest. They were really hot for a little bit, but now they've kind of died down. One of the best producers I've ever like heard from is Dinas Koyu. He does
Mhm,
like dance tracks. He's like a like Europe dude from Europe or whatever. But he's
mhm,
very technical, kind of like sounds like you have a little bit of that. Like he's just very precise and like you just see his stuff and it's just like I'm he has like thousands of dollars of plugins. So I'm like, I can't do this. But I just really respect people that really understand that. And yeah, when you're starting off, right, you just try to throw everything. The biggest mistake people make is they try to make their mix sound good in the master. And it's like just like you said, right? You want your mix to sound good in the mix, and then the
yeah.
masters to get it to the level of where you can release it and stuff. So that's a good tip
Mhm.
if you're out there and you're trying to create music. That don't get hyped about the becoming a master in a sense. Um,
No, I mean, yeah,
Nice.
I'm speaking of channel and all this, geek talk we're doing. I'm thinking of putting together a master class of sorts.
Ooh,
Because the,
nice.
the the studio does really well and I love it, but I want to be like a millionaire, so I'm gonna put together like a course and sell that worldwide and have
Cool.
everyone get really good mixes for like really cheap. And that's
Ooh,
that's kind of the next level thing. So we'll have to talk something royalties about that.
we
You and I make some scripts
absolutely,
and put together a
absolutely.
class with my gear and your brains and
Let's
directory. That
let's
would be
do it, bro.
cool.
That would be cool. And we, speaking of like Jaron, obviously
Hmm.
he- he's getting some feedback right now on putting out courses and stuff. So I think
Hmm.
we can all collab and work on this. This would be really good. We made a course for him, and it just I don't think we promoted it right. I don't think it was something just it didn't sell at all, and we spent
Hmm.
hours working on it. So
Hmm.
he's kind of trying to figure out what that might have been, and I think we're gonna find that solution. But yeah, I'm hell yeah, dude. Let's fucking do that. That's gonna be dope. Uh,
Well, that's like the most common question I get asked. How do you do this?
yeah,
Right?
right. And
Well,
it's
that's why
so
you're here. So.
yep. How do you do EQ? Do you do a lot of boosting with your EQ? Because I'll see these like tutorials. That's I don't either. And I'm like wondering, like, I'm like, is that what I'm missing? Because I see these like guys that teach on electronic music anyway, and their EQ is just like they have the fab filter, and it's just like exactly. I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's gotta like destroy the sound, but yet they're getting signed and the music's good. It's like, it's
It
interesting.
depends. I mean, my teacher in school, I took a semester or two to learn how sound works. And my teacher, he was funny. He got all biblical with it. He said, "'Tis better to cut than to boost." You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
so because you have a sound that's like already pretty pure,
Hmm.
so and beginners, they'll get all crazy, like they'll send their vocals to me and just be like, and I'm just like, dude, you gotta turn down the highs in this. It sounds like so bad. It's like
Yeah.
ear rape, you know? So um I typically leave everything the way it is until I'm almost done mastering.
Okay.
And maybe on my master I'll attenuate or boost. I'll boost the highs. Um and that's if I feel like maybe the mix is still lacking a little bit of something. I usually do it on the whole mix.
Okay.
Or if maybe the vocal's still not quite sticking out, then I'll boost the vocal a little bit. But this is at the end. This is like my final touches. I'll boost a little bit. But
Okay.
yeah, during the mix and production, I almost never touch anything. And
Oh wow.
that it's mostly volume adjustments. You'd be surprised how far some volume adjustments go. Or
Mm.
gain when there's some gain options after you've recorded that you can kind of adjust before you
Yeah.
actually touch the fader,
Okay.
and those can be lifesavers. But
Oh
yeah,
wow.
I really don't boost much.
Okay. That's who you got to put that in course, man, because everyone's just like cranky. Like literally, they'll add like 18 decibels of like, in the mid high range, and you're
Hmm.
just like, how are you making this work? Like, I'm so
18
confused.
decibels, that's crazy.
It's
No, it's
crazy.
I see a lot of that, especially when you go on YouTube University. That's one reason that a course would be like seriously
Brilliant.
OP, because
Yeah.
you have a lot of people giving you really bad advice. Like
Right.
I would argue 90% of the courses or little videos I see on YouTube make what they have that was already shitty sound even shittier. I'm just like, dude,
Okay.
this doesn't even sound good. Like this is not even what I want to sound like, you know?
Mm.
So half the time I would argue that those people are just like don't know what they're doing.
Okay.
I know that sounds really egotistical, but how many times you're like, how do I sidechain a bass? And this guy has a beat that's like bing 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 bing. And it's just like so dorky. I'm like, man, that's why this guy's freaking doing tutorials on like Reaper, man. Like,
Mm, mm.
I don't know.
I, I for the last 4 years, I've been having my mixes at negative 18 to 28 decibels when I mix. And I just found out right now that don't do that. Like I got that tip from YouTube University, and I was like, oh, this is such an important trick. And it's like they, it's not their fault. Like I get it. They're, you know,
Yeah,
to them it's what works, but they
they've
make it
just
sound
never
like
been late. It's cool.
it's Dude, I love that, dude. That's hilarious, man. That's all that needs to be said, right? That's all that needs to be said.
We're the Andrew Tates of mixing now.
God,
It's time to get a rock star to teach you how to do an actual mix.
bro, let's chat, man. Like I would be honored and would love to help you with that project. I think
No, that'd be
that's
super
that's
fun.
so cool. Very
We'll
cool.
we'll talk more about it later, but yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
it's something that's like this year I want to get it completed
Okay.
and put, you know, people like Parker Walbeck is like huge in teaching me how to do lighting, how to do cinema
Okay.
quality videos, and he has like a forum. So you know,
Okay.
there's like sites. I'm sure you guys did a class, you know, so you know there's like sites, there's forums that you can have your subscribers on and stuff, and it's a whole ball game that just make you can make like a school for yourself in some of these
Mm,
new programs, and that's what I'd love to teach people, because wrapping it back around to the point of this podcast is how music can change your life. If people had the capacity or ability to be able to make it on either a budget, or we can show them how to do it with their own plugins, it would
right.
just be a game changer for all musicians everywhere, and that's something I think
Amen, bro.
we kind of owe it to, you know, to pass on the knowledge that we've attained through years and years of practice, to be able to make them or help them better express themselves, and to be able to heal through, you know, music.
So beautifully said, dude. I think, and what I really took out of that is, you know, the giving back part. And this is kind of, you know, this doesn't relate to, so much as music, but the once you learn something, I think one of the most rewarding things is that you can share it with others. And this is a
Hmm.
really important part of service and recovery as well. Like you sponsor people in recovery groups, which is you don't get paid or anything, but you just do it because you know you got it for yourself for free. And so like for myself, like I'm starting to do some dating coaching, and I'm not charging for it, but it's just so rewarding because I've gotten so much information from people that has changed my life, and I'm getting to
Hmm.
help guys, you know, make those little mistakes. Like you said, less is more, and that is could not be more true than in dating, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'll see their messages, and it's just like their smiley faces and laugh out
Good
loud. Like,
morning, beautiful. The world is so lucky to have a star shining as bright as you. I'm blessed to even have your number.
that's okay. You can say that's one of my best scripts, right? Always say that to a girl you started to date. Yeah, perfect. and, and I tell the guys, I'm like,
Please don't
just
stop talking to me.
please. I have 4 pictures of you in my room, just so you know,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you mean that much to me, right? And I tell the guys, I'm just like, stop, like, guys, let go. And if you're watching this, no emojis until you're like, you know, you can use them sparingly. No laugh out louds, no ha-has, and watch your dating life change. And it does. Because let them do that.
Sometimes
Let them be the
there's the
ones
simple
speaking.
things.
Yep. Let them be the giggly girls. You're a man. You're not a giggly
I
girl,
know,
dude.
right?
As
Ha
I'm
ha
laughing,
ha.
but
LOL. LOL.
LOL. Had a great time. LOL. You know, amazing to see.
When
Uh,
can I see you again, please?
oh my gosh. Don't don't say that. We're gonna create a course on what not to do in dating. It's gonna be
Yeah,
hilarious. So
we're being
stay tuned for
ironic,
that one.
guys.
Yep.
Peep,
I thought
for the guys that are watching that get all their musical advice off of YouTube, we're just kidding.
yeah. I want to start like I might start an Instagram, like a faceless Instagram, um, called the reddest pill, and it's just gonna
Yeah.
be like just like you know ripping apart like you know obviously just kind of what we talked about. Like always say this to a girl after a first date: "Hey babe, I'm thinking you. I followed you home just to make sure you got home safe." I'm gonna be thinking of you. Like always say that after a first date.
My car still smells like you.
That's good. The Reddit pill guys. Look for that on Instagram. It's
We're
gonna be
gonna
great.
start
But
making skits. It's gonna be amazing.
yeah, I love it as your room's red.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
so yeah, guys. You know, this was an absolute great stream. We appreciate everyone who's came in. I think we could talk for another 4 hours, but um, probably a good time to wrap here. We
Yeah.
do have one comment from our homie Jaron, which you guys can check out the stream Mike and Jaron did on Jaron's channel, Gringo Guides. Uh, so I believe you're talking about the sound panels and stuff, because you sent that at like 10:48. Yes, that would reduce that stadium effect, that all that echo and just so definitely the sound panels are good. Windows are terrible. Like, if you're recording, don't do it in front of a window. We have in our apartment, we have just giant windows that just extend the whole length of the apartment. So probably not great to record in the living room, but anyway, we can do some more talks about that. So Mike, any last thoughts, man? First off, thank you for coming on, dude. This has been an awesome chat. I'm so fired up about music now, and I feel
My
healed.
pleasure, man. I know, my pleasure, dude. It's always great to talk about the benefits of music, and I know people, to Lincoln kind of sobriety university. I mean, I know people that music's helped them become sober, and yeah, I'm sure you have similar, feelings, thoughts and feelings on that. But yeah, I love music. It's always gonna be a part of me. Even if I'm old and gray, and music is still going to be a way I express myself. And
Beautiful.
I'm looking forward to some of our collabs in the future, and how we use music to help better other people's lives. And yeah, couldn't have done this without you. So appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Hit me up for this interview. It's been my pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome, brother. Likewise, man. I'm excited for what's going to come. You guys stay tuned. We're going to have some cool content coming out from just hanging out, man. We're going to, I think it's beautiful about the internet is you can connect with people all over the world. Never would I imagine doing a YouTube podcast with a guy that makes pop punk music. It got me stuck because I love pop punk. But anyway, man, thank you so much, brother. We will
Thank you.
catch you guys in the next one, and adios.